The Supreme Court has just ruled in favor of Trump on its shadow docket, which means we don't have any oral arguments on the issue. We don't even have an opinion on the issue. Just an allowance for Trump to basically begin deporting Venezuelans that were once protected under the temporary protection system. My name is Dina Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. Let's break this down. Now, what was at issue? As we know, Judge Chen in the lower court essentially stopped the Department of Homeland Security from canceling and allowing to deport hundreds and thousands of Venezuelans. We're talking about like 350,000 Venezuelans that were protected under this TPS system, the temporary protected status. This means that they were here legally. They weren't here with legal permanent status. It's a temporary status, but they were here legally. The government knows about them. They were issued work permits. They were issued this temporary status, and the Department of Homeland Security under Kristi Noem just went ahead and canceled this TPS status for them. And so organizations went in to sue it, to block it. And that underlying case of whether or not the actions she took were legal is still ongoing. What was at issue in front of the Supreme Court was yet another procedural issue. All these things coming in front of the Supreme Court are really procedural issues. And here the judge had issued a stay, which meant that while we are deciding whether or not the way the department is canceling these TPS for these hundreds of thousands of people, while we're deciding whether or not that is legal, you can't basically kick them out of the country. The Supreme Court just undid that, allowing essentially hundreds of thousands of people to be deported while the issue of whether or not it is legal to deport them is still ongoing. That's the stunning part of this Supreme Court decision, because one of the factors of whether or not an injunction or a stay should be issued is, will there be irreparable harm? And in this case, certainly people that are sent to Venezuela who were granted this TPS because they were able to convince the United States, a judge here, the government here, that sending them back was too dangerous. That was how they even qualified for the TPS to begin with. Now can be sent back while the issue of whether or not it's legal is decided. So certainly those people will be suffering irreparable harm. The only justice that dissented was Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, and she didn't say much other than she would have dissented. There was no official count how the justices broke down. This was the most shadow of the docket here. The whole idea is that this really consequential decision for real people being done by the Supreme Court without there being any transparency, any light. Other than Ketanji Brown Jackson, we don't even know if there were other dissenters. With this and with her speech that she is giving, she's showing some moral, ethical leadership in this court. I'm sure we will be seeing more of that from her to come. But in effect, what is happening here is this is not going to just affect Venezuelans, because there are many other groups that are protected by this TPS, and we expect them to be targeted as well. We have about 300,000 more Venezuelans, so 600,000 Venezuelans altogether. We also have this program for people from Ukraine, Haiti, Cameroon, Afghanistan. So we expect this to be other groups now to be targeted. Of course, we're seeing all of this in the backdrop of Trump allowing in the South white Afrikaners with this idea that they needed asylum at the same time as he's canceling people who, they've been given work permits or working, contributing members to the society, but they are getting deported without even being decided whether or not the underlying issue is legal. I did pro bono asylum cases when I was at my big law firm, and it's not easy to be granted asylum, even, which was a little bit different, this TPS, but the same idea. You're asking and filling out forms in a language that's not your first language, in a legal system that's not your legal system, to be able to convince the government that you do and will suffer harm when you're being sent back is not easy to do. Everyone doesn't just get it because they crossed the border. These people went through the legal system, did the things that we told them to do. And now we are revoking it in a very susceptible way. We haven't even gotten to the issue if it's legal or not. Supreme Court stepping in and saying they can still get deported anyway. So the Supreme Court showing us they've got their good decisions where they're saying people need due process before they're departed. And then we see this decision every time we maybe have confidence. They do one of these showing us that, I don't see how you can have a more great irreparable harm than literally sending somebody back to a country that you have been convinced they shouldn't be sent back to. Otherwise, you wouldn't have given them the status to begin with. So while Trump tries to cancel the temporary protected status of Venezuelans, and he's also doing it for Haiti and doing it for people that helped us in Afghanistan, he's saying it's safe enough for those interpreters and others who helped us to go back there. It's not dangerous. Here's what he has to say about the white Afrikaners that he is bringing in, as he's saying everyone else is basically safe to go back to these countries that are going through so much. Do we really think that it's anything other than the color of the immigrant skin? Take a listen.
Afrikaners who claim discrimination in their home country are heading to the United States, right, where your administration is going to welcome them as refugees. Now, this comes as you've halted virtually all refugee admissions for people fleeing famine and war from countries like Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Why are you creating an expedited path into the country for Afrikaners but not others?
Because they're being killed, and we don't want to see people be killed. Now, South Africa leadership is coming to see me, I understand, sometime next week. And, we're supposed to have a G20 meeting there or something, but we're having a G20 meeting. I don't know how we can go unless that situation's taken care of, but it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about, but it's a terrible thing that's taking place. And, farmers are being killed. They happen to be white, but whether they're white or black makes no difference to me, but white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa. And the newspapers and the media, television media, doesn't even talk about it. If it were the other way around, they talk about it. That would be the only story they talk about. And I don't care who they are. I don't care about their race, their color. I don't care about their height, their weight. I don't care about anything. I just know that what's happening is terrible. I have people that live in South Africa. They say it's a terrible situation taking place. So we've essentially extended citizenship to those people to escape from that violence and come here.
My name is Dina Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. We will continue to update you on this and any other legal developments to come.
Love this video? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch and help us blow past 1 million followers.